It's Wednesday the 27th, a little before 4 o'clock. The sun's gone behind the hills to the south and the west. Sky's looking pretty decent, although there's a good deal of water vapor, and I do see in the distance a jet, which I may not be able to make out on the camera. Anyway, it doesn't have too lengthy of a vapor trail behind it. And there's another one. Notice the difference between the higher part of the sky, the middle third, and the lower. There is quite a bit of water vapor there. Tonight, we're 4 days off from the new moon. I'm going to try to squeeze in 2 sessions, and those sessions, first one will feature the NGC600-699 series, skipping around maybe 25 studies, and hopefully a later session will be able to pick up the tail end of the NGC 1 to whatever it is, 7485 or so series, the NGC catalog series, beginning with NGC 1000. So that'll be later on tonight about 9, but only if the sky conditions are good and the position of the NGC 1000 series is in a decent part of the sky. You can see the scope. I have it basically set up where it's parked on the zenith. Everything's been working well, despite the nearly 20 days plus that I have not been able to do astro due to very peculiar and extended poor weather conditions that we've been seeing here in Eastern Oregon and perhaps all throughout Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. So we'll be back out a little bit later on to begin our session. It's now 5 o'clock. I thought you might like to see Venus hanging about maybe 10 degrees in its orientation towards setting behind the mountains or the hills to the south and the west. It's about as zoomy as I can get it right there. All right, I just turned the scope to the lonely one, Fomalhaut. It's only about 10 degrees above the hills to the south. It isn't close to culminating yet. I'm going to set the focus and then synchronize the scope to it. It's about a little after 5 o'clock, so I won't be doing any astro for a couple more hours. That's when the 600 series should be more accessible in the sky's middle third. But I thought you might like to see Fomalhaut. It's always a beautiful study in terms of its mystical and poetic virtue. It is the first magnitude star that resides in an area of the sky all by itself in terms of bright sky, in terms of bright stars in the sky. I imagine there's probably no other bright star within maybe 40 degrees of it. So here we go. I am going to do my synchronization to Fomalhaut, and then I'm going to give an idea of what direction the NGC600 series is. I'm sure it'll be the studies at this hour will be well outside the sky's middle third, and I will be back in a couple of hours to review the 600-699 series adventitiously, looking for galaxies mostly brighter than magnitude 13 and ones that are of special interest, so maybe 25 of the 100 plus, because there's always A's and B's and C's in the NGC catalog to be found. And that will begin our evening for the first time in almost 3 weeks, some 4 days before the new moon. In reviewing some of my videos from earlier in the season, I discovered that if you leave day-night mode in the auto setting, it will turn on the IR optimizer. And IR optimization is a nice feature in terms of galaxies because so much of their light, they're at least two magnitudes brighter in the infrared. And so perhaps it'll enhance the galaxies a little bit to leave the IR optimizer on. And in the past, the only way to do that was to put it into nighttime mode, which meant you lost color. So here we're going to go ahead and allow it just for the experimentation for this evening. The other thing I realized was that DNR, at this setting here, okay, return. This setting here, whatever DIS is, and I'll have to look it up, was inadvertently turned on by me at some point in the image gathering. So I'm going to turn it off once again and save the normal settings of 128 flood, 42 decibels gain. You can see the screen is colored red. Part of that is due to the fact that I'm using a Lumicon Deep Sky filter. Now I am pointed towards NGC600 in Cetus. It's about 7 degrees below the celestial equator. But when I'm looking down the barrel of the scope, it is probably no more than 20 degrees above the horizon to the south and the east. We're going to have to give this one an opportunity to rise up towards the sky's middle third. And as I said, I will begin that at 7 o'clock this evening. All right, let's watch this one develop. It's NGC 600. There's a bit of water vapor up there. I think I've got high thin clouds. This is a very fine galaxy, however, although rather large, and magnitude 12.5, I believe. I'll give you the data on it as the image formulates on the screen. We're going to cover maybe 25 in the series tonight. Okay, what should be evolving on the screen, and I can see it right there, is NGC 600. It's a galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 12.4. For a 12.4 magnitude galaxy, this one's pretty large, 3.7 by 3.6 arc-minute face-on, spiral with a bar, lowercase c. It's got some disturbance in it and a ring, so it's obviously interacting with a neighboring galaxy if it's got a D classification, or C, between C and D. So it's in the early formulating state. The galaxy is 80 million light years distant, which puts it about the size of our own Milky Way, maybe about 90,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 1 hour, 33 minutes, 5 seconds, with a declination of -7 degrees, 18 minutes, and 44 seconds. Not a great view, but we are seeing it. And given its size, it probably has an average surface brightness somewhere around magnitude 15 to 15.5. That's just winging it in my head. Basically, you multiply 3.7 by 3.6, so we'll say 4 by 4 would be 16, so let's call it 13 or 14, and take the magnitudinal value of 2.5 power, and that's how you would get it. I'll do the calculation in the morning. We are getting quite a bit of speckling on the screen, which usually is suggestive of high, thin, wet clouds, but we do see the galaxy perfectly placed right where I'd like it to be in the center of the screen. Okay, if you recall, the NGC 500, around 595, we started imaging Messier 33, the triangular galaxy. You could actually make out the core. I believe it's right there. We are at NGC 604. It is an H2 region nebulosity in the triangulum galaxy. It's about 2 arc-minutes inside, emissive type nebula, which means it's being excited by star formation. It looks intensely bright. That's got to be a 10th magnitude high star formation region with some really bright supergiant stars in it. That is quite impressive. NGC 604. Right ascension 1 hour 34 minutes 32 seconds with a declination way up there in the sky's middle third of plus 30 degrees 47 minutes and 2 seconds. We're also seeing a brightening here as well, which is probably part of the spiral arms of the galaxy. But I do believe this is NGC 604 right there. Be interesting to find out what its magnitudinal assignment is. Here's a nicely placed sub-13th magnitude galaxy, NGC 605. It's an Andromeda, magnitude 12.9, 2-to-1 aspect ratio, perfect, 2.2 by 1.1 arc-minute lenticular spiral class O. 233 million light years distant, puts this about as large intrinsically as Messier 31, the great Andromeda galaxy, which is a rather large spiral. We're at right ascension 1 hour 35 minutes 2 seconds with a declination of plus 41 degrees 14 minutes and 52 seconds. We are not getting any aperture block in this view. The core of this galaxy is quite intense, and we can see a little bit of extensional halo around it. It's right about there. What we should be seeing now is NGC 614, which is also NGC 627. It's a 12.7 magnitude galaxy in triangulum, purely face-on lenticular spiral, 1.4 by 1.4 arc minutes, 234 million light years distant, puts it about the size of our own Milky Way, which of course is not a fully mature spiral. It's probably a B-class, like the Andromeda galaxy is, although I've never heard it described because we don't get the big picture on the galaxy like we do other galaxies outside of our own. We're at right ascension 1 hour 35 minutes 52 seconds with a declination of plus 33 degrees 40 minutes and 53 seconds. Very well positioned in the night sky, and it's really helpful because the clouds will be thinner up there than they are further to the south. All right, speaking of further south, we just had to have a look at this one. It's at about the same as the original galaxy in Cetus, minus 7 degrees 20 minutes 26 seconds. It is NGC 615 in Cetus, brighter, magnitude 11.6 with a nice aspect ratio, as you can tell looking at the screen, 3.4 by 1.4 arc minutes, so it's suboblate. Spiral with a lowercase b, twice removed from the fully mature lenticular spirals, 83 million light years distant, puts this probably somewhere around 70,000 light years in diameter. We're seeing the core and the core extensions, at least I am, on the screen. And there may be a couple of faint neighbors up there as well. NGC 615. Back up into triangulum for NGC 621, a galaxy of course, magnitude 12.7, face-on 1.9 by 1.8 arc minutes, spiral with a bar of the lenticular class, so it's a barred lenticular spiral, 235 million light years distant, puts it about the size of Messier 31, intrinsically about 150,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 136.49 with a declination of plus 35 degrees 30 minutes and 43 seconds. Let me allow this one to continue to develop as I look for our next study. There's an NGC 622 right very close to the celestial equator in Cetus. NGC 622, that galaxy in Cetus, is magnitude 12.9, 1.8 by 1.3, a football-shaped galaxy, spiral with a bar and a lowercase bc, so that puts it 2.5 times removed in terms of its morphology from the fully mature lenticular class spirals. This galaxy is 233 million light years distant, which also means it's about the same size as Messier 31 at 150,000 light years. We're at right ascension 136 aught and declination aught plus aught 39.49. Of course, aught means, of course, 0 for those who live north of the United States and speak the English language. Well, you're going to like this next one, and you'll know why as I gather the data. Push the wrong button again because I'm wearing gloves. It's very cold out. It must be about 25 degrees. I do believe this was NGC628, if my memory is not playing games with me. Yes, NGC628 is in Pisces. It's got another reference, an older reference, Messier 74. It's magnitude 9.4, quite large, 10 by 9.4 arc minutes, which means its average surface brightness is somewhere up there around magnitude 15. I'm seeing spiral arms. The core looks a little oblate. There's very good sense of sweeping in this image. It's a very nice galaxy. We're at right of section 1 hour, 36 minutes, 41 seconds. Declination, we're up in the sky's middle third, plus 15 degrees, 47 minutes, and aught seconds. Aught. We ought to move on to the next study. But first, I am going to do some research while this one continues to develop on the screen. Messier 74, NGC 628. Let's move on. Boy, that really developed nicely on the screen. Messier 74. NGC 632, another galaxy in Pisces, but it's fainter, magnitude 12.3, 1.5 by 1.2 football aspected galaxy of the lenticular class. 141 million light years distant means this was about 70,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 1 hour, 37 minutes, 17 seconds with a declination northerly of plus 5 degrees, 52 minutes, and 38 seconds. Nice bright core, but probably not a lot other than that, although there's some faint outliers near the core, which could possibly be part of the galaxy itself. Or it could be neighboring galaxies in that vicinity of space. I'm hoping we're going to get a good view of NGC 634. It's a galaxy in Triangulum. Magnitude 13, but it's 2.1 by 0.6 arc minutes in size. That's about a 3.5 to 1 aspect ratio. Spiral, lowercase a, once removed from lenticular. 218 million light years distant means it's probably about 140,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 1 hour, 38 minutes, 18 seconds with a declination of plus 35, 21, 53. We'll allow it to develop a little further on the screen. We are getting very good alignment on our GO2 this evening, I might add. Let me see what our next study will be before bailing on our last study. Oh, this one looks interesting. A little further south, but nice aspect. Magnitude 11.5 should be nice. NGC 636 is another whale of a galaxy in Cetus. Brightish though, magnitude 11.5, but football shape, 2.8 by 2 arc minutes. It's an elliptical class 1. Now those elliptical galaxies are the most mature galaxies, relatively bereft of cold dark matter for star formation. Billions of stars tending towards the red end of the spectrum. Oh, be a fine girl, kiss me. Probably M-class stars. 89 million light years distant means it's about half the size of our own galaxy, so maybe 45,000 light years in diameter. Ellipticals are often quite condensed due to powerful gravitational forces. We're at right ascension 1 hour, 39 minutes, 6 seconds with a declination of minus 7 degrees, 30 minutes, and 45 seconds. Really quite brilliant, but only showing a little bit of an aura extending out to the 10 and the 5 o'clock positions. Okay, we're going to have to go skipping along, if not merrily, because I've only got 2 bars left on the camera. It's a very cold night. Batteries just don't function very well below temperatures, let's say in the 40, 50 degree range, which speaks rather poorly for EVs, electrical vehicles, although they may be able to deal with that in the future once they fine-tune the batteries. NGC 645 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 12.6, 2.6 by 1.2 arc minutes, spiral with a bar and a lowercase b, 148 million light years distant. We're at right ascension 1 hour, 40 minutes and 8 seconds, plus 5 degrees, 43 minutes and 35 seconds. we are getting a nice sense of an edgy-on presentation in this one. I do want to turn up maybe a 15th or a 16th magnitude galaxy to check the seeing tonight, but I am going to have to start really skipping. Okay, we've got a little bit of aperture block here, significant amount of aperture block, but it's really worth seeing this planetary nebula. It's the double planetarium in Perseus, NGC650. I'll give you the data on it, then we're going to have to jump along elsewhere. It is, of course, a Messier. Okay, it's Messier 76, magnitude 10.1, 163 by 107 arc minutes, planetary nebula in Perseus. Central star is magnitude 17.6, 2,400 light years distant, with a right ascension of 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 18 seconds. But here's the kicker. We are at declination plus 51 degrees, 34 minutes, and 15 seconds, and I'd say we are losing maybe half, if not more, of our aperture. But at least you get a sense of it. All right, I didn't make a lot of progress because this next galaxy visible right there is a beautiful edge-on. NGC653, it's a galaxy in Andromeda. A little faint for the parameters this evening, magnitude 13.4, but it's 1.5 by 0.2 arc minutes. That's like a 7-to-1 edge-on ratio. You can see it slicing across the screen beautifully. Spiral with a lowercase ab, 243 million light years distant, puts it at about 110,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 1 hour, 42 minutes, 25 seconds, with a declination of plus 35 degrees, 38 minutes, and 17 seconds. I'll allow it to develop as I skip along. There's an open cluster in Cassiopeia, too far north. There's a galaxy in Cetus, too far south. There is a galaxy in Pisces, but it's magnitude 13.4. An open cluster in Cassiopeia, 55 degrees north. We're not going to see that one. Another galaxy in Pisces, looks like it's got a nice aspect ratio, NGC 658. Let's go there next. All right, NGC 658 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 12.5, 3 by 1.6 arc minutes, so oblately presented spiral with a lowercase b. 134 million light years distant, puts it probably around 130,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 1 hour, 42 minutes, 9 seconds, with a declination of 12 degrees, 36 minutes, and 6 seconds. Watch it develop as I continue to scan through. Ooh, there's a large, bright NGC 660. Still got 2 bars. Let's go for it. Oh, this was a fine galaxy. NGC 660 is in Pisces. Magnitude 11.2, but very large. 8 by 2.9 arc minutes. So it's about a 3-to-1 aspect ratio, suboblate or super edge-on. Spiral with a bar, a lowercase a and a p, which means peculiarities. 41 million light years distant, puts it about the size of our own Milky Way. Giving a great view there. Right ascension 1 hour, 43 minutes, 2 seconds, with a declination of plus 13 degrees, 38 minutes, and 39 seconds. Gotta love that. Let me skip along a little bit. Well, that looks promising, but we're not going there. That looks promising, but we're not going there. So too far north. That looks pretty decent. We've seen galaxies like that. Okay, 665, 666. I want to get something right now. That's too far south. That one's pretty far north, but it's a little out of range. Here's a galaxy in Triangulum with a nice 5-to-1 aspect ratio. Let's go there next. Here we have NGC 669, galaxy in Triangulum. Brightish, magnitude 12.3, 3.1 by 0.6 arc minutes, so about a 5-to-1 aspect ratio. Spiral with a lowercase ab, 215 million light years distant, means this one's probably close to 180,000 light years in diameter, larger than the Andromeda galaxy. We're at right ascension 1 hour, 47 minutes, 16 seconds, with a declination of plus 35 degrees, 33 minutes, 46 seconds. I'm going to skip along as we watch this one develop. Here's a nice 670, but we're not going there. We got to get moving. This is a decent one in Aries, 671, 672. Oh, we got to go there. NGC 672 is our next stop. Get on board. Oh, another fine supra-Edge-on galaxy, NGC672, but brighter, in triangular, magnitude 10.9 and large, 7.5 by 2.6 arc-minute, spiral with a bar and a lowercase c. A mere 22 million light years distant, means this was about 40,000 light years in diameter, half the size of our own Milky Way. It's at right ascension 1 hour 47 minutes 54 seconds with a declination of plus 27 degrees 25 minutes and 58 seconds. Watch it develop. It looks really nice. I'm going to skip through. I'm going to have to jump over things that ordinarily would get my attention. Oh, here's our 15.5 galaxy for the night, NGC675. By the way, I had to skip over a nice galaxy in Aries to go to this one, but we really have to push. This is another galaxy in Aries, however, NGC675. Its magnitude 15.5, but it's got a nice aspect ratio of 1 arc-minute to 0.4. Spiral with peculiarities, 239 million light years distant, means it's probably about 60,000 light years in diameter. We are right essential 1 hour 49 minutes and 8 seconds with a declination of plus 13 degrees 3 minutes and 33 seconds. I am seeing the Pleiades start to enter the middle third of the sky, and below that is bands on the run Jupiter. There seem to be several galaxies here. This seems a little bright for 15, so it's probably this one down there. I'll let it develop as I skip along. Ooh, a 10.5 magnitude galaxy in Pisces is next. We still have two. All right, NGC676 is that galaxy in Pisces I foreshadowed. Magnitude 10.5, 4.2 by 1.6 arc-minutes. Spiral with a lowercase a, 67 million light years distant, means it's probably about 70,000 light years in diameter. We're at a right ascension 1 hour 48 minutes 57 seconds with a northern declination of 5 degrees 54 minutes and 25 seconds. You can see the extensions and a brilliant core. Let's let that baby develop a little bit as I move along. There's a 12th magnitude elliptical, but they're pretty much glowing balls. Ooh, there's a nice one in Aries, NGC 678. Right, that's a nice series of numbers. NGC 678, it's a galaxy in Aries, magnitude 12.2, but largish and edgy on. 4.1 by 0.8 arc-minutes. Puts this at about 5:1 aspect ratio. Spiral with a bar and lowercase b, 127 million light years distant, means it's probably about 180,000 light years in diameter. It seems to share the field with an even brighter galaxy right about there. We're at right ascension 1 hour 49 minutes 24 seconds with a declination of plus 21 degrees 59 minutes and 49 seconds. Enjoy those two galaxies. I have no idea what the other one is. I may be able to determine it tomorrow, but I really don't have a lot of time for doing research these days. Let me skip through as you watch those develop a little bit. There's another nice galaxy in Andromeda, but it's kind of a face-on lenticular. Ooh, there's an 11.9 magnitude galaxy, 680 in Aries, but it's probably not particularly. We've seen things like that. Further south, and 681 is too far south. 682 is too far south. Nice to be able to skip over a few. 683 is 13.5 magnitude. There's a galaxy in Triangulum. Oh, it's got a nice aspect ratio. Let's go there. NGC 684 is that galaxy in Triangulum just mentioned. Magnitude 12.4, largish 3.4, but it's by 0.7 arc-minutes, which means we're talking something like 6:1 aspect ratio with this spiral with a lowercase b. It is 161 million light years distant, which puts it probably somewhere around 170,000 light years in diameter, larger than Messier 31, which comes in at about 145 to 150. We're at right ascension 1 hour 50 minutes 14 seconds with a declination of plus 27 degrees 38 minutes and 46 seconds. And my body battery is starting to run a little bit low. It is very cold out here tonight. Let's let this one develop as I search for our next study. There's a galaxy in Fornax too far south. Another galaxy in Andromeda, but it's pretty much a face-on lenticular at magnitude 12.3. That's NGC 687. 688 is kind of a oblate football-shaped galaxy, magnitude 12.7, but we're going to move on. Galaxy in Fornax, 689. Galaxy in Cetus, too far south, 690, 691. Ooh, that's a nice 11.4 magnitude galaxy in Aries. How about a look? Well, you can see NGC 691 forming just below that 9th magnitude star, estimated 9th magnitude star. 691 is a galaxy in Aries, magnitude 11.4, 3.4 by 2.5 arc minutes, spiral with a bar in lowercase c. 120 million light years distant. We're at right ascension 1 hour 50 minutes 41 seconds with a northern declination of plus 21 degrees 45 minutes and 35 seconds. Something seems to have flashed on my right eye through the screen. I'll have to check that out later. We often do see satellite passages and occasional meteor. There's an NGC 693, a 2-to-1 aspect ratio galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 12.4. Let's push on. Galaxy in Aries, 13.7, that's 694. 695 is a very small lenticular galaxy, 434 million light years distant in Aries, but let's move on. There's a this Fornax galaxy way too far south. NGC 697 is also NGC 674. We have seen that, I'm sure. It's 4.4 by 1. Let's have another look at that one. JIC. I'm sure we saw this one earlier. It's NGC 697, a galaxy in Aries. It's magnitude 12 with a 4.4 by 1.4 arc minute apparent size. So that's fairly large for a 12th magnitude galaxy. Spiral with a lowercase bc, 140 million light years distant, puts it about 180,000 light years in diameter. Sound familiar? Right ascension 1 hour 51 minutes 17 seconds with a declination of plus 22 degrees 21 minutes and 28 seconds. Very fine edge on view. Well, we're just doing a sample out of the NGC 700-699 Sampler series. This is NGC 705, a galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 13.6, but it captured my eye because it is a 4-to-1 aspect ratio, 1.2 by 0.3 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase a, 206 million light years distant. We're at right ascension 1 hour 52 minutes and 41 seconds with a declination of 36 degrees north, 8 minutes and 37 seconds. Now I can imagine that you might be able to figure out which particular view we are going to go out on tonight. And you would probably be right if you, down to 1 bar for Messier 33. Here we go with our Carpe Noctem view of the evening. The core of Messier 33, probably the 3rd largest galaxy in the local group of galaxies beyond Andromeda and our own Milky Way. It's in triangular, magnitude 5.7, but as we've already noticed, there are numerous other regions in the galaxy that have NGC designations, most of which, I believe all of which, are H2 region nebulosities where new stars are forming. This baby is in development. I do not have the classification for it. Maybe I'll look it up tomorrow, remind myself. We're 68 by 41 arc minutes in size. I think it's somewhere around magnitude 14 average surface brightness. 3 million light years distant, so a little further out than Messier 31. We're at right ascension 1 hour 33 minutes and 51 seconds with a declination of plus 30 degrees 39 minutes and 27 seconds and getting a respectable view, well positioned on the screen. For some reason the camera went back to 2 bars. Maybe it really likes Messier 33, the triangular galaxy. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back in, remove the images from the camera, charge the battery up, and if I can bear the temperature and the sky holds, let's go ahead and see if we can track down something in the NGC 1000 to 1049 series without being too selective. So if it's somewhere in the sky to be seen, we will have a look at it, and it should be in the sky's middle third at that point. So this is going to be our Carpe Noctem view for this sampler viewing session, NGC 600 to 699 and beyond. Carpe Noctem.